Hello and welcome to a video I didn't really expect to be doing so soon. But let's just say I may have found the best case possible for dark matter. And it's big. Oh man, this is an interesting one. Hello and welcome to a video that I really did not expect to be doing so soon. Before me is the Fractal Define 7 XL. Now, honestly, this is a case that I had no idea existed until recently because nobody is talking about it. Like, honestly, this is a case that unfortunately has completely flown under the radar for most people. So why am I so excited about this case? Well, other than its absolute girth, the case itself is actually fairly interesting. It's got a completely modular design that allows you to use two different configurations. One of them is a storage configuration and the other one is an open layout. In its open layout and completely stripped down, it actually is super spacious. Like, I actually took this entire case apart in order to really get a feel for how easy it would be to build in. And honestly, it's going to be stupidly easy to build in. I'm actually super excited about this. Not only that, but it does have true 420mm support, and it does it on both the top and the bottom. It actually does up to a 460 in both areas. And I could easily see that because, as I said, this case is massive. Like, you could fit so much into it. When it comes to motherboard support, it will support up to SSIB, like server motherboards in this case. And with that storage configuration, it actually makes some sense that this would actually be designed for sort of a weird bridge between server and consumer hardware. That being said, if you were to build a Threadripper system in here, it would be just fine. As I mentioned earlier, you've got radiator support for days. For reservoirs, you actually have a built-in bracket on the bottom. You can use the back-mounted radiator support beams that are underneath a cover plate, or even more so, you can use the adapter plates that come included with the case. There are two of them, and you can adapt your reservoirs that way. Not to mention, there are additional radiator spots to the bottom of the case that will do up to a 240 is what Fractal has on there, but it does look like there's mounting for up to a 360. You just would have to use a SFX power supply, which wouldn't be that weird if it weren't for the fact that there would be no way for those cables to actually reach up to the EPS pins. For graphics cards, you pretty much have support for anything under the sun. Without anything in that reservoir bracket, you could fit just about anything. And even with a reservoir, you can fit just about anything. There is so much space between where the actual case motherboard area starts and the water cooling part ends that you honestly could fit just about anything. And that is what excites me. Like, you could technically do dual loop in this case. You also have the ability to actually side mount a 3-wide graphics card, which that's kind of awesome. And it's just overall such a super spacious case. It does come with 3 Fractal design fans, and this time they're blackout instead of white. I do have the black tint tempered glass version because, you know, dark matter. But yeah, this case honestly impresses me all around. All of the panels are toolless, so if you're not actually reconfiguring the case, you don't actually need to pick up a screwdriver at all. That being said, we did have to take it completely apart in order to configure it the way that we wanted to, which was with 2 hard drive bays at the bottom and instead of the 4 that come by default. We also took out those accessory plates in the back because we're not going to be using them at all. We do have 2 SSD spots in the back of the case, giving us a total of 4 spots to actually mount drives. We configured the front radiator spacing so that we could actually put our 420 in there and actually sink it a little bit into the case if we so choose. We pretty much have it completely configured and ready to go for our build. We also have the top panel has been replaced with the airflow based panel. We're gonna stick the Fractal fans up here because that's what we have on hand for now. But when we rebuild this thing to its final form, we will have replaced those with Vardar fans. It has sound dampening on the optional silence panel for the top, and it has sound dampening on the side panel, and if you get the closed off version, it also has sound dampening on there. There is sound dampening as well on the front door, which is actually hinged, so you could feasibly open it if you are facing load and having difficulty getting air through the vents on the side. This time around, Fractal actually did make those vents rather significant, and there are no hidden, hard to get to dust filters that take a lot of effort to clean. Much like before, that is held on by pins, and it's fairly easy to take off. So if you really want to change the color of that side intake, you can. That being said, we are going to be keeping this case as vanilla as it gets because it is pitch black, it looks great, and I am honestly excited to see how the white and black looks in an all black case. The surface of the case actually does have sort of a fingerprint oil resistant coat, but it is visible for a couple seconds after you touch the case that you actually have touched it. And it is a very nice, smooth material. There are no sharp edges to be seen on this case, and at $200, that is expected and should be the bare minimum. In its storage configuration, you can actually put up to, and I had to look this up, 18 hard drives in it with an additional 5 SSDs. That is bonkers, like seriously bonkers. By default, it does come with 6 brackets, plus an additional 2 that are combo SSD and hard drive brackets. You can run it in a storage configuration by moving the inner plate to the outer position, and then it's able to actually completely stack storage all the way through that. With that in place in that configuration, you are limited to up to a 240 millimeter on the top without any pump reservoir mounting in this area. That being said, you could easily mount an EK flat res into the vertical GPU area with plenty of room for the motherboard to subside in this area. And you could still technically use a EATX SSIB motherboard in that configuration. Not to mention, there is another little secret that this case holds. The hard drive cages that come included with it actually can be stacked sort of in a interestingly weird configuration. In that configuration, you can actually place one in the actual chamber of the case and actually store an additional SSD we found, which is really interesting. So by default, you've got 4 hard drive spaces plus the 2 extra that you can just pull out, plus the ones that come in the box. So you have so many weird configurations that you can use. Unlike the last case that we talked about on this channel though, there are plenty of spaces to actually run cables. And on the XL, there's so much room to actually tie everything down. I don't think I'm gonna have too many problems with this. That being said, there is a sticking point for some people, and that is the fact that the panels are completely toolless and can be removed just simply by pulling on them. This is actually a fairly sturdy mechanism, and I don't actually think that it's gonna rattle loose in movement or transit, but it is a concern that some people have, and it is a very valid concern that we will be testing when we build this thing. Also, for custom liquid cooling support, there is a fill port towards the top, but as big as this case is, I don't think you're going to need a custom fill port. And even cooler, it does have an EK water block distribution plate that is supported for this case, and it is specially designed for the Fractal cases in general. So overall, you've got like a ton of liquid cooling support, and you've got a ton of radiator support. You've got options for so much hardware, server grade hardware, and a server amount of hard drives. And guess what? It has 5 1/4 bays. I know that's nuts. It actually is an optional 5 1/4 bay bracket that actually comes included. The craziest thing about this case is how much that comes included. This airflow panel included. Extra hard drive spaces if you want to run in storage configuration included. Those 2 sleds at the bottom that can hold 2 hard drive cages each and 1 SSD if you move it to a top position. Included. Fan, 3 fans, included. Like there's so much included in here, like there is no nickel and diming. And honestly, I think this case puts Fantex to shame with how much is actually in the box. Because Fantex does not give you everything. The only thing this whole case is missing is a weird cutout back here so that you can mount another motherboard and then it'd literally be like an N3 Pro. All right, is it the N3 Pro that just came out? I think it's the N3 Pro. Either way, massive case, awesome, it feels sturdy. It honestly feels like its price. And I am ready to build in it. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Thank you guys for watching this overview of the Fractal Define S7, the Fractal Define 7 XL, the case that nobody is talking about. It has everything that the Define 7 has, with just a little bit more space. And that's perfect because it's just like the O11 Dynamic XL, which is my current favorite case. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I don't know what else to say. Wolfie, out.